So my specialization was in architecture. And so I was in Italy, I was in Florence, and my head was in a book. And I'm writing about Corinthian columns, which I don't expect anybody to understand or know. But here I was. And I'm realizing right there, I'm like, what am I doing? I had a professor who was so passionate about what I was writing about. And that was the moment when I was finishing it up. I was probably on the last paragraph of writing my thesis before sending it off. And I thought, this is not me. And I know this because my professor is so passionate and I am not. So
Mm.
I wanted to have that same type of feeling towards something that I was going to do for the rest of my life. And the fact that I didn't feel content at that moment while I was in such a beautiful country, I just felt like I need to be more creative because that is what I've always felt happiest doing. And I lost that part of myself at that point. I was so focused on verbiage, writing, research, versus allowing other talents to kind of shine through. I was suppressing the part of my identity that I wanted to really end up doing. I thought research was the best way to make a living. And then I thought, you know what? No, this is not it for me. So that was kind of like my aha moment.
Wow, what a beautiful story you just shared. And as you were saying that, a couple of things stood out to me where you said it was calling out to you. Even though you were in a beautiful city of Florence, which is like
Next level.
you can't ask for more than that, but even in that moment, even in the moment of you writing your thesis, you still didn't find fulfillment. Are you ready to streamline your focus and get clarity to start your online service-based business? Are you tired of struggling with lack of clarity, self-doubt, and the fear of being a public failure? Do you wish you had a clear plan you could follow to make your calling a reality? Hey friend, you don't have to stay stuck any longer. With a renewed mindset and a clear plan, you can start a business that fulfills your calling and makes a profit. I'm your host, Chichi Ukomado, a Christian business coach, Jesus follower, and a 7-figure service-based entrepreneur. In this podcast, I'll teach you how to streamline your focus, get clarity on your business idea, create your business launch plan, set up your business essentials, and launch your sustainable and profitable business from scratch. You will get tons of encouragement, godly wisdom, and accountability to grow in your faith and new business journey. It's time to partner with God and take your first step to start that business. You know the one I'm talking about? Yes, that one you've been putting off for a long time. Today, I am so excited to have Danielle LaBonté on today's episode. Now, Danielle is my brand designer. So if you have ever been to my website or my social media page and you like all the goodness and the prettiness you see, Danielle is responsible for that. She is an award-winning designer behind Danielle LaBonté Design Studio. She's known for pushing creative boundaries in branding and editorial design. Her work has been featured in Yahoo Finance Top 10 Graphic Designers to Watch in 2021, and she has shared her experience on Adobe live streams. With over 8 years in the industry, Danielle combines an art history with digital design to help clients attract their ideal audience. She's also the host of the Building Up Creativity podcast, inspiring creatives everywhere. Danielle, welcome to Start That Business podcast.
Thank you so much. And that intro was amazing. I might have to steal that from you.
Don't worry, I'll send it to you after we're done. I am so excited to have Danielle here. You know, while I was getting ready to come on to this podcast, I was thinking and asking myself, how did I even find Danielle? How did I find you? So I have this times when I do like random browsing on the internet where I'm looking for something. I knew it was time to do my branding. Although I have a good eyes for design and I have IT background, I am a front-end developer and I do some work there. But for this coaching brand, I wanted someone else to do the work for me. So I went on Google and I started searching, and I actually found my website designer. I found her website and I was scrolling through her services, and that was where I found you. And I'm like, wow, two Danielles, and both of their names are Danielle. So I was destined to work with a Danielle
You
on,
were.
on, on my brand. But Danielle, is so amazing and awesome to have you here. So, how did your journey start in this graphic design world and creative industry?
Well, thank you, first of all, for having me. And I'm so happy that you did find me through another Danielle. My start. So definitely wasn't linear. Like you might have read on my website, I combine art history with digital design. So I was in the art history industry prior to this. I was on my way to becoming a curator at one of the beloved art galleries that we have here in Toronto. And I decided to expand my knowledge in Italy. So I was there for a little bit just to complete a thesis of mine. And when I was there, I realized by studying the artists, I felt like I was hiding my talents from the world. And instead of studying the artists, I wanted to become one myself. So I kind of took a whole new pivot and I switched careers. I went back to school actually for graphic design. Took
Wow.
3 more years, but my career actually took off while I was in that program because I was considered a more mature student. I was freelancing on the side during school, so I realized, "Hey, I could kind of run a studio and do this myself considering this is kinda going well, and I'm really enjoying the business aspect of it too." So I did a full transformation 180, switched careers, and I haven't looked back since.
Wow, I love that. Did you guys hear that? She said she did a whole 180 turn and moved to, and it speaks to calling and something that is inside of you to do, because once you found that out, you were pulled in that direction and you knew this is where I'm supposed to be. And I can only imagine the fulfillment you have gotten from moving in that direction and starting and moving from art history to becoming a full-time graphic designer. So I'm just amazed at how your calling or what you've been called to do just keeps tugging at you and pulling you until you answer that call and say, I surrender. Let's do the thing.
Yes. Yes, it really was almost it really was calling me. It felt like a clear-cut message, and I had that pivotal aha moment that I feel like sometimes we read about in books and we don't believe, but truly I could literally pinpoint an experience that I had where I realized I wanted to switch career paths, and then I had a calling for graphic design, and it felt right from the moment I started it.
So, what was the aha moment? You said there was an aha moment where the switch happened. What happened in that moment, and what made you switch?
So my specialization was in architecture. And so my head was I was in Italy, I was in Florence, and my head was in a book, and I'm writing about Corinthian columns, which I don't expect anybody to understand or know, but here I was, and I'm realizing right there, I'm like, what am I doing? I had a professor who was so passionate about what I was writing about, and that was the moment when I was finishing it up. I was probably on the last paragraph of writing my thesis before sending it off. And I thought, this is not me. And I know this because my professor is so passionate and I am not. So
Mm,
I wanted to have that same type of feeling towards something that I was going to do for the rest of my life. And the fact that I didn't feel content at that moment while I was in such a beautiful country, I just felt like I need to be more creative because that is what I've always felt happiest doing, and I lost that part of myself at that point. I was so focused on verbiage, writing, research, versus allowing other talents to kind of shine through. I was suppressing the part of my identity that I wanted to really end up doing. I thought research was the best way to make a living. And then I thought, you know what? No, I need to, this is not it for me. So that was kind of like my aha moment.
wow, what a beautiful story you just shared. And as you were saying that, a couple of things stood out to me where you said it was calling out to you. even though you were in a beautiful city of Florence, which is like
Next level.
you can't ask for more than that, but even in that moment, even in the moment of you writing your thesis, you still didn't find fulfillment. I think we underestimate fulfillment. Sometimes we think, oh, it's when I'm in this uh, career, when I'm earning a whole bunch of money, but fulfillment is so powerful. It's you fulfilling what you were created to do, what you've been called to do. And once you find it and you hit it, it's like something, it's like you become free. It's like a bird that
Mhm.
has been caged and someone opens the door and they're like, fly away.
It is. It's exactly that feeling. And that's why I can genuinely say, like, every time I hit a monument in my career, I realize, like, I know I made the best decision even when it was hard at that time to do it.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that story. So, what would you say are the foundational branding elements every service based business should have in place from day one? I know we hear a lot out there logos, fonts, this and that, but from your experience, what are the foundational pieces or foundational elements that a new service based business owner should have in place from day one?
I think a lot of service-based business owners have this misconception that they just need to jump and design something first. And as much as I want to say, yeah, that's the fun part, you're missing out on those crucial brand components and elements because if you don't understand your business or your target audience or their personas, you're doing yourself a disservice to your business and you will grow more slowly versus faster. So, some of these brand elements that I'm kind of talking about are rooted in brand strategy. So, the
Mm,
first thing that service based business owners need to do: determine your mission statement.
mm,
What why is it? Like, what is your why? Why did you want to start this business? Without that, there's no butter to your brand. People are not going to understand what it is and how you help them. You're trying to solve a problem that your future clients are looking to, receive from you. We all have pain points and we need to establish what our desired and ideal clients are struggling with. So determine that mission statement, all of your messaging, make sure that it's a voice that compels people and attracts that ideal client. And your values, the goals of the business. Once you've kind of written all of these down, these types of brand elements, you are probably pulling in a lot of great brand adjectives that are describing that target audience. So, for instance, some great personas would be if you are a graphic designer, for instance, you're a service-based graphic designer, you're probably looking at somebody most likely who doesn't have time to brand their business, design assets. They might not even feel like they would describe themselves as someone who's creative. They don't maybe perhaps they probably need help in marketing in the digital world. Like, you need to start thinking of all of their pain points and what they're seeking from you. You need to have a strong brand strategy if you want to have your future brand elements of a logo, of a color scheme, of that strong typography and font suite. You need to have the brand strategy before you have any other moving parts. Even your brand photography or visual patterns, you need to do that first.
wow. It's amazing that you didn't mention logo or fonts as the foundation because a lot of people, they, like you said, they rush to go do those things because it's the fun part. But
It
sitting
is the fun
down
part.
to craft a strategy, sitting down to ask yourself, why am I doing this thing? What have I been called to do? Who have I been called to? What kind of service am I going to offer them? And it takes me to my business clarity blueprint that I create for my people that are starting a business. And that is what I use to fill out your questionnaire.
Oh, no
Right?
way.
Yes, that is what I used. And in that moment, I found that it was so helpful because what the business clarity blueprint does is takes you questions through your vision statement, your mission statement.
Yes.
Who am I serving? What kind of services? What adjectives describe me? So it's 10 sections. By the time you're done going through it, you have enough clarity on the business that you can use it when you hire a graphic designer. I used it to fill your questionnaire. That's what I used. And I'm like, wow, it was so helpful because I was able to complete the questionnaire. I used it when I worked with my website designer because it goes back to strategy. Who are you trying to serve? Who are you speaking to? What are the elements that or adjectives that describe your brand? Because that is what you take and you translate into color, you translate into font, you translate into all these things. So guys, if you haven't downloaded my business clarity blueprint, go download it now because you're going to need it when you hire a graphic designer. It's the foundation. From there, you begin to build other things. No wonder you did a little bit of architecture, art history. You know that building the foundation is the boring part. Nobody wants that.
No one wants to build the foundation first. You want to start thinking about all the fun little decorative elements, but you realistically can. And on that note, I remember reading through your brand consultation questionnaire and I thought, wow, like this is so informative for me. You knew exactly who you were, what your business was, who your dream clients were. Like you made it truly so seamless that if you were using your blueprint, then I cannot push it more to the listeners.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, I use the blueprint to fill out that form because sometimes it's overwhelming when you hire a graphic designer or a website designer and they give you this long questionnaire. And a lot of people get lost there. They might not even get back to you on time because they have not done the pre work to determine. So, guys, go download the blueprint so that you're ready when you hire your graphic designer. So, Danielle, for a new business, how crucial is it to invest in professionally designed logo? And how does it impact first impressions with potential clients? So let's just say we've done the foundation work. We've we've downloaded the blueprint, we've filled it out, we have clarity on the business we're trying to start. How crucial is the next step of now creating the elements?
The one thing I always like to say, and it comes up a lot in the majority of my client discovery calls, is that you could have 10 years experience. You could just be an expert in your field. And without a professionally designed brand identity, you aren't pitching yourself and you're not showing up as the brand expert. Well, as someone with maybe 1 year or less has invested in professional branding, so they look more like the expert than you do. And in this market, I don't know if we can afford to relate and use only like template designs, like templated logos that we often find on Canva. Sometimes I even see screen grabs. It just starts to look a little, redundant, and you're blending in and you're not pitching yourself as the expert. And in this day and age, we will judge a business within 7 seconds. And if it's not something that looks reputable, professional, and will be beneficial, we're out. We are instantly out. It is a digital world. And if you are an expert, you deserve to show up and land those dream clients because you've put the years in and the work in. So it is really crucial to get help. Like, if I could provide an example, I used to do all my bookkeeping and accounting myself. And to tell you how much I was probably hurting my business because I just wanted to save a couple bucks, it hurt me in
Yes.
the long run to do that versus just finding somebody who could help me and pay for that expert's and professional's opinion. A graphic designer to an accountant, it's two completely different worlds. So save yourself the cost of trying to use these free templates and you're not reaching goals and sales and clients. If you invest in it, you will see your business grow at a more rapid rate. And at that point, you've got a business bestie for life because you can always talk to them and ask them questions at any point. We're always happy to help. I swear, brand designers, web designers, all of us are probably some of the friendliest people, not
I
to
know.
brag, not to brag. But you've got that support long
Yeah.
term.
Long term. I like what you said that you deserve to attract the kind of clients that will pay for your expertise because what you said is true. I've seen people who do not have as much experience that I have as a service-based business, but they look so professional. You think they've been in business for 20 years. So don't shortchange yourself. Don't show up looking DIY'd all over and lose out of the potential clients that you can possibly get by looking professional. Like you said, we're in the digital world. We're dealing with AI. We're dealing with so many
So
elements.
much.
So much. So you want to make sure you stand out. You want to make sure that you show up looking like the professional you are so that you can attract the right clients. So can you walk us through briefly? I know that this might be asking too much because a lot of the work you do is behind the computer, but can you walk us through the process of creating a cohesive brand identity? Like what are the different things that come together to make it uh, this brand that stands out, brand that can evolve, and things along that line?
Yeah, so as a designer, before I even get to start designing, aka what we call the fun part, I am actually doing research. And now I know I just kind of bashed research because I was in art history and realized I didn't want to do that. But no matter what you're in, you're going to have to do research.
That's
So
right.
first step for me as your brand designer, I am doing extensive research. I am expanding upon what you filled out in my brand consultation questionnaire. So I am looking for specific people that would invest in your services that you kind of described. I am looking at your competitors. I am looking to see if I can expand upon some of the words that you already provided to me. So some of the brand adjectives. I am looking at also when I go back to the note on competitors, how did they brand themselves? And are they doing the job? Are
Mm.
they reaching the people that they should be? I want to make sure that we are hitting those check boxes in the proposals that I send to you before I even get there. So I'm working on that first. One of the first stages is solidifying the overall tone in your branding. So when you get that first presentation proposal, you are checking out a creative direction. In this creative direction, you will see photography, you will see patterns, you will see varnishes, paper, different types of papers, a whole lot of things in this creative direction alongside some color. So I am rooted in designing through consumer psychology. So one thing that all of my clients get to read is after they see this creative direction, the color scheme and how it's complementary to all of those tones and textures. But what does each color symbolize and mean, and how does it
Mm.
call out and attract people? So my clients get to read, if they want to, how each color has a lot of impact as to why I chose those. Once you see all of that, we head straight into the logos. You receive a lot of different logo variations. I am working for a while on those. Primary logo, which is used predominantly, usually takes up the most amount of room. There's a secondary logo, which is a little more condensed, a little more vertical, but allows you to put it on some elements that have your full business name still, but it's good for business cards. It's good for letterheads. It's good for invoices, just places you don't have as much space. Then you get kind of what's called like a submark. This is something that allows us to have a little bit more creativity. So you might see a little emblem in there, a little icon that's representative of your brand, alongside a new type of layout and variation. So it's just great for Instagram profile pictures, watermarks, things to just claim as your own. And last but not least, that pivotal icon, that G that we think of in Google, the F that we think about in Facebook. You get so many different variations to choose from when you're reviewing concepts. So that is the first initial stage. Taking apart all the revisions, which is like totally expected in my field, you need to also consider at that point to complete the brand identity suite are those fonts that you will use on marketing materials like your website, anything that you're sending out, stationery. What I will say as a fun fact here is that a lot of times people say, could you send me the fonts that you use in your logo? And I always say no, because if we use your logo fonts as your actual heading font or body font, your logo is not going to stand out anymore. It's just going to completely
That's
blend in.
right.
We need to find something complementary and really looks good next to it, but your logo is still that wow factor. That is you. McDonald's is not using the same M arch all over the website as their
Yeah.
font. It's completely custom, right? We can't
Yeah.
we can't do that. So that is just a little tip that I always like to throw out there. You will always get custom fonts that are complementary to everything that we establish together. So that's kind of the process and the most shortened version that Taylor's short version
I
of,
know.
of this episode.
Thank you so much for just running through that process. And there's a lot that Danielle sends. Like I remember when she sent me my proposal, I read everything. I'm like, what does this color
I'm glad
represent?
you read
And
it.
yeah,
I
and
always wonder.
and I saw the way you explained each color and you tied it back to what I filled out in the questionnaire. So, what my brand is about, who I'm trying to attract, and everything. So that by the time I see it, I'm like, this is me. This feels like me. This feels authentic to me. This feels authentic to the people I think I'm going to attract. So, thank you for running through that. That was a crash course, y'all.
It really was.
That was a crash course. That was a crash course. So, I hear some people say that, okay, when you're starting a business, you should start scrappy. Like you haven't made money yet, so why go invest in branding, logo, and all of those things? So, does having a cohesive brand guarantee success in business, or are there other factors that play a bigger role? Because if I'm just starting out, why can't I just go on Canva and just scramble something together and start? Then when I start making money in the business, I can now invest in a graphic designer and all of that. So does my logo guarantee me success in business, or are there other things?
The short answer is no. Branding is not your complete solution to anything. It is not a
Mhm.
permanent fix. It is something that will definitely help you out and is definitely a necessary component, but it's not going to fix the dip that you had and it's not going to just magically expand your business right at the start. I like to tell people sometimes I get on calls and they say, I'm so embarrassed with how long I've gone without getting professional branding done. I attempted to do it myself and it looks horrible. So it's time for me to do the damn thing. And I say to them, it is better to put yourself out there than to not. And you might not have grown as fast as you had hoped, but you did put your name out there and people
Mm,
do talk and word of mouth is impeccable. So if people are realizing the value that you carry and you were able to get some clientele and then you were able to put some savings aside and invest, there's nothing I will never, ever, ever judge my clients for
mm,
every journey is so different, right? I mean, if
that's
I could
right.
show somebody even my first logo, it was not what I wanted it to be today, but I knew I needed to get my portfolio out there. My website wasn't perfect, but I needed to start building up SEO. Like I needed to start putting myself out there, and there are no regrets. Do I want to delete all those old things? Absolutely. But I don't because it
We
shows my
all
journey.
do.
We all want to, but I don't regret starting when perhaps I couldn't invest yet. Like I said, I was doing a bookkeeping and accounting myself. It's just the way it goes sometimes. But I want to just end off and say branding is not the complete fix. You need to put in the work. So if that means starting when it doesn't feel perfect, it is better than constantly pushing it off until you can invest in branding to start a business. Please don't push things off. I always say start now. Start now. Put your name out there.
Danielle, you just took it right out of my mouth. I am so happy with the answer you gave. You said start now. If you're listening to Danielle, she said start now, put yourself out there, get it out into the world. Everyone is always embarrassed with their first iteration of their business. So there was a quote I saw. It says, if you are not embarrassed by the first version of your business, it means you waited too long to start it.
Amen.
So that means you should cringe when you look at that old logo or the old website, or it shows that you put growth and taking action in front of perfection, in
Yes.
front of getting everything all together before you start. So I love that answer. I love that answer. It resonates with everything we're about here on this podcast. And that's what I tell them. Start. Let's put it out there. You cannot edit a blank page. You can only edit a
Yes.
page that has stuff on it. So Danielle, you're speaking my language. So start now. You may not have money to hire Danielle or another graphic designer, but get on Canva. It might be that crappy logo. Just buy it, start, put it out there, start doing something, and you can build from there on out. So,
Yes.
what some business owners believe they can DIY their brand to save cost. Now, based on what you said, based on what we told people to start now, I believe there's a place for DIY when you are just starting off. But when does DIY become you waiting too long? When does DIY become you procrastinating, you refusing to invest in yourself and invest in your brand? So where do we draw the line between DIY? What are some of the risks of not making that move earlier and just waiting and stalling? So where do we draw the line between DIY at the beginning to save cost and actually taking the leap to invest in your brand?
You typically actually know. So, for instance, and a good example is a lot of times my clients come to me when they're in the rebrand phase where they realize they need to pivot. They were reaching an audience that couldn't afford their product or service and they needed to rebrand. They've made money off DIYing, but they're not attracting people that can actually afford what they do. So, they need to start rebranding to be able to attract that client or consumer that can afford them. Because when you DIY, it is hard to come off luxurious if you're a luxurious service based provider. So you
Yes.
often notice that you're just not reaching the same people that you want to in order to grow your business. So it was great selling your services at an hourly rate. That was a great starting point. But now you're 2, 3 years in business and you're realizing I'm still working with the same people and I need to raise my prices. That is the time. You usually know right then and there, this is my time to invest. You've built up some clients, but you know it's time to expand and grow. So that's usually that little it's usually that little plateau that you experience and you know you need to take it a step further and then you do the whole rebrand, the whole reshift.
Wow, I like what you said. You said you know. So it's just there's this gut feeling that says it's time to take it a step further. It's time to move. And if you are listening to yourself or listening to your inner drive or your inner map or the Holy Spirit or just listening, you will know that hey, it's time to stop DIYing, invest and attract uh higher level of clients or a different level of clients completely. So, as we wrap up this episode, what are some practical steps for effectively launching a new brand and getting clients to connect with it right from the start? What are some things you have either advised your clients or you've seen, especially when I'm trying to launch my new brand? What are some tools or uh, things we can use?
I love this question because I see successful launches and unfortunately I see some unsuccessful launches. My biggest go-to tips are and some people might not like this, but you do need to engage with the community that you're intending to build on social media. Sometimes I notice if you're launching a business and you don't do that, well, how are people going to know about you? How are people going
I
to find
know.
you? So put out a promotional offer upon launch, something that's going to reel some people in. It could be a discounted service, it could be featuring a service, it could be a giveaway. Entice people because if you are putting out a new offer, you need to give yourself experience in that service, but also entice some people. There's a reason why Sephora has a sale every year.
I
There is a
know.
reason why there's Prime Day for Amazon. You got to keep things interesting upon launch, right? Um, Use that countdown feature on Instagram. People will subscribe. People will turn the notifications on. Just engage with people, community is the biggest thing. People are what we are working for. So if we're not engaging with people, meeting people, talking to people, networking, your launch isn't going to take off the way that you had hoped.
Wow. Community, community, community. So we can't hide anymore, Danielle.
No, we cannot. Again, digital age, we have to put ourselves out there. I find it funny because I was just talking about Amazon with somebody. No one would guess that Amazon, when it was first developed, was just for selling books.
I
And now
know.
look at what it's turned into. It is massive. So launching can just be putting out an offer of some sorts, a giveaway, just to get your name out there, spread the word, let people share this post um, to say that your brand is launching or whatever it is, you know. But to say that there is a journey in this, there is totally a journey. If Jeff Bezos can start just by selling books online to selling pretty much everything online, you can too. It's just a matter of putting the work in, trying things out for a little bit on your own. Once you start realizing that there's some growth needed, invest in professional services. I promise you, it is wholeheartedly worth it.
All right, you heard Danielle. No more hiding. It's time to let your light shine and let everyone know about this awesome brand that you're launching, this awesome brand God has called you to start. So, Danielle, as we wrap this up, what is one next action step that a listener can take today? Today, what is one action step they can take to make sure that they build the right foundation, their branding basics, and everything?
Hey, you want to know what I say? Fill out your blueprint.
Go for it.
Filling out your blueprint. Truthfully, if you
Oh
are
my
starting
God.
a business and you need to differentiate yourself and what makes you unique, what is your unique proposition? Fill out that blueprint because you need to figure out that target audience. You need to get to the brand strategy before you can even reach out to anybody else, a photographer, your graphic designer, a website designer, anybody. So sit down. It might not be as fun as you think, but I promise it's wholeheartedly worth it again, just to sit down and fill out your blueprint and get down the basics of the structure of your business. And from there, you will be able to expand in other ways.
Wow, thank you so much, Danielle. We didn't plan that. She just put it
I,
out
s-
there.
I
It's
am
like
no paid promo.
it's like go download the blueprint. That's the first thing you need to do today. Just go get it done. Go get it done. Thank you so much, Danielle, for being on here today as a guest. How can my people connect with you? Where are you? Where do you hang out in the digital world? How can they connect with you?
I am most actively on Instagrams. That would be at Danielle LaBonté Designs. There you can see all my work that I am posting from other client projects. It might give you some inspiration for yourself, even some business pointers go in there too. Then you could also find me on my website. That's www.daniellelabontedesigns.com. There you can also perhaps join my Creative Visionaries newsletter. That is where you'll just get monthly newsletters sent to you with business tips and creative resources. So those are my leading two places for all of you to find me.
Awesome, awesome. I'm going to have that in the show notes or in the podcast description. So you can click on the website, you can copy the handle for Instagram, and you can go follow Danielle on Instagram. Go check out her website. She has amazing, amazing stuff for you right there. So Danielle came with gifts. She has an offer that she's going to talk to us about. Danielle, can you tell us about your studio stationery services?
Yes. So just last month, we launched our new stationery design services. What this is custom stationery design for events and weddings. So
Wow.
we completely do in-house printing design. It is such a fun experience if you're looking to create memorable moments for any type of event that you are having. So whether you are in the States or Canada, even in the EU, we do ship our designs. So if you are looking to create something that will leave a lasting impression, we did put out that offer last month. So it's been a really exciting experience, and I'm excited to work with more people in that regard.
Wow, I'm excited. I'm going to come stalk you on email. I love print. I
Agreed.
love to design and print. So I'm definitely going to come disturb you in your email. Thank you so much, Danielle. Danielle is also booking projects for January 2024 and onwards. So if you're at a place where you feel it's time to stop DIYing and it's time to hire a professional award-winning graphic designer to help you with your brand elements and everything you've done, then you can go to her website and book for January and onwards. But make sure you get your blueprint done first because she will send you right back to it.
I will. You'll need to fill out the form.
Wow. Thank you so much, Danielle. This has been an amazing, amazing time here, just having you share your wisdom, having you share your experience. Thank you so much for being a guest on Start That Business podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun. And it was so nice catching up with you too. This podcast is so beneficial for people, and I just can't wait to see where else it goes. So thank you so much for having me as a guest.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I hope you learned something new and you were encouraged to take action. If so, will you stop right now and share this episode with someone so they can get the help you just got? I would also love it if you can leave a review for this podcast on Apple Podcast or the podcast app you're using to listen. This is the number one way I know you're getting value from the content on this podcast. Until next time, always remember you have all you need to start that business. So keep listening for more episodes. I'll meet you here next week.